Okay, we're good to go on YouTube. Now let's see. Here I'm gonna share my screen now. Sure. Okay, are you guys there? Okay, sorry about that. What happens is that I run a VPN so that I don't get attacked, and I had to deactivate it because it wasn't working. Okay. Okay, see, that works fine. Okay, let me see if you guys can see this. Oh. All right, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, um, we'll begin. So you both have experience, some more or less, right, with 3D?
A little bit.
A little
Yeah.
bit. Okay. So I would like for you guys to open the SolidWorks and then let me know once you see this. So when you get into SolidWorks for your first time ever, it's gonna ask you if you have if what type of system you would like. Just leave it right now and it's in default, which is gonna be for like inches and ANSI.
Mhm.
I think that's what it's gonna do for now. So just leave it like that for now. Let me know once you are here in this page.
That's just a part.
No, this is right now the planes. It's like a geometry to help you draw. So you probably won't see that. So I do have to. Let me see. Let me do it. Actually, let me change this. So yeah, okay. So this is how you're gonna look at it now. This is what you will
Okay,
see when
good,
you
good,
get
good.
in, which is nothing.
Mhm.
You see that, right?
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So, all right. So this is how you start. So the first thing I like to do and that I recommend you guys to do is you set up to show. You saw those planes that I was showing before. Those are called primary planes. So you can show them. So if you go here on this eye at the top, there's like a little eyeball. You click on that downward arrow. It's gonna show you a lot of things that you can show and hide. So primary planes, I I think is the best thing you can do here because once you want to, let's say, draw something or you want to make a 3D figure, then you will know where your plane is at. Then another one that I like to use a lot is view origins. So if you go a little bit down, you see there's like these two arrows, one pointing up and one pointing to the right, called view origins. So click on that too. What happens is that that will show you the origin and you can actually select it before you couldn't. So that's another thing that I like to use too. For example, if I were to draw a circle and I wanted to be perfectly centered in the center of everything, then I can make it right here at this center and I can actually click on it. So you're gonna see in a second what I mean by that. So just so that you know, here are the panels. So basically the upper panel is where we do sketches. You can do markups, evaluations, some dimensions, blah, 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 simulations. We're going to be using a lot of sketch today and just features. Those two are going to be our main ones for today. And then here on the left side is kind of like a history. I guess you can think of it kind of as a history of the things that you do. For example, as we continue to develop pieces or sketches, they're gonna start popping up here on your left side. They're gonna start populating your left side, and yeah, so that's like a history of the things that you do. We can always roll back. We can delete them. You're gonna see like a lot of that stuff. And then material also, like if you want to specify the material that you're working with, you can go here, right click it, edit material, and you can edit it. We won't go into that right now, but in a little bit we'll go into it more in detail. And more things that I don't know too much about, like sensors. I've never used sensors here, and annotations, not really. So there's much more than what I'm gonna show today. So today is just like a super basic way of understanding this, so that you are a little bit ahead of what you need to do. So, okay, let's see. So the first thing that I would like for you to do, guys, is now here on this upper part, you're gonna see where the eyeball was at. You also have some display styles. You have what they call the shaded with edges, shaded, hidden lines removed, hidden lines visible, and wireframe. What those icons basically do is, like, if you have a solid object and you want to see completely solid, then you're gonna see it shaded with edges. If you just want to shade it with no edges, then they will be shaded. If it's hidden lines removed, then you won't see the hidden lines. And if you want them visible, you can click on the one that has them visible. So that's pretty much what I do. And wireframe, it just displays all the edges of it. So that's one tool that I usually don't really touch, unless you're doing something that is super intense, when it's gonna eat up a lot of your I guess computing capacity. Then you can start working only with wireframes maybe. But I haven't had the chance to lower it down. Thankfully, all my projects have been pretty small. Then view orientation, which is the left icon. There you can switch orientations to it. For example, if you want to switch to the front, now we have the front plane in front of us. If you want to switch to left, then you will have the left plane showing to you. If you want to switch to right, then it will show you right plane. And other ones that are there, all of them will show you some sections. Like this one, you can see it in two sections if you want to. You can click on the one below. You can change the view of that one as well. Now I'm looking at the left. Let me see if I want to do isometric. Now it will show me isometric at the bottom, and then the top I have top plane. So if you want to come back, you just click on it again and just make it whole, right? Because again, how do we divide this into sections? We have single view, two view vertical, right there, two view vertical. Let's say we want to make this now 4 views. I never use 4 views, but I guess it kind of makes sense to use 4 views. And then we have, then again, we come back to single view like that. Super easy. So those are the view system. Now there's a little bit more icons then that you can always check. Section view, if you want to view sections of objects that you're doing. Previous views, zoom to area. Okay, so one thing. So if you have your mouse with you, which the only way really to like seriously do graphing here on Solidworks is with a mouse, because you got that scroll wheel. If you notice, if you scroll out, you just scroll your wheel forward and it will scroll you out. When you zoom in, when you now scroll the wheel back towards you, it will actually zoom in wherever your mouse is at. So if I unzoom and I start zooming into the figure, it will zoom there. If my mouse is now to the right side, it will zoom to the right side. So just keep that in mind. Now, if you hold the mid button of your mouse, you can start rotating your figure, okay? And usually what I like to do once I finish rotating, I go back to isometric. I like the isometric view the best out of all of them. I guess that's just a preference because you have other ones here. So if you click on that icon here, you're gonna see that you can go not only isometric, but dimetric, trimetric. But I just have a preference for isometric. Now, one thing that I dislike, that you don't have to do what I do, but you see that whenever I'm clicking there to select my view, that there's this box that appears here in the middle. I don't like that personally, so I usually come here and disable it right there. It says view selector, disable it. So it just moves it, because I don't really like the fact that it takes a long time for it to zoom, like there's some sort of animation going on. I just want to see it. I don't care about that cube. But again, that's a preference of mine. You can always use that if you would like. And then there's other little icons here like edit appearance, apply scene, and blah 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 that I don't really use again. Never had a chance to use them. So any questions thus far?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Everybody was able to follow up to now?
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent also an email with some practice problems that I think I might have erased on my. Oh no, it's here. Okay, some practice problems that I think will be beneficial for us. So we'll begin with a couple of things that I do need to show you, which is how do you make your first geometrical figure. So pay close attention. So the first, let's say you want to make a circle. Okay, let's just begin with a circle, and we want to see how we make that sketch on a plane. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to select the plane that you want to work with. For example, if I want to work with the top plane, I click on the top plane. You're gonna see that it's selected, changes now into blue, kind of, so I guess you call it contour, now it's blue. And then it will also be selected too. Here on the left panel, you're gonna see that it's now in a dark bluish top plane. If you wanna select front plane, it will change now to front plane. If you change to right plane, it will now select the right plane. If I click on my origin, it will also show me my origin. So how you begin again is you click, in this case, I'm gonna select top plane. So for now, let's select top plane. And then here on the top, instead of being on features, we're gonna go to sketch. So there is a bunch of sketches here that we can do. Right now we're gonna do circle. So we click on the circle. Now you're also gonna notice that there's a little downward arrow on the circle. That means that you have two different ways of making a circle. You can do a perimeter circle or you can do a circle. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and continue with the circle. So we click on that circle, make sure that it looks like it's pressed down, because if I click on that circle again, it will unpress it and I don't have anything here. So let me click again on it. Now you're gonna see that my cursor becomes now some sort of pencil with circle. So that means that we are now in circle mode. So let's say I want to make my circle in the origin. Well, here's where it comes handy when we said that we want to have the origin present, right? Because as you can see, when I hover over it, now it's gonna change. Your cursor has a pencil, a circle, and now it has a yellow thing with 3 intersection lines. That means that you're gonna be drawing on an intersection. So right now, because you already selected top plane, it doesn't matter where I draw, it's gonna draw it on the top plane. All right, you see that? It's not drawing on the right plane, it's not drawing on the frontal plane, it's drawing on the top plane. So let's go ahead and look at it again from the top. Okay, so I drew it here, but I want to draw it right here in the middle. Okay, so let me go ahead, press escape, press the escape key. I'm gonna select this figure and I'm gonna press delete. I could do that. That's one thing that I could do. Another thing that I could do is, let me draw it, press escape, and I'm gonna select here the center of the circle. I'm gonna drag it towards the center here, leave it there. It's gonna tell you right here, existing relations. So the program understands that I moved it to the center, so it believes that I want to make it coincident with the center of where we started, our origin. So it will automatically do a relation. So it will appear here as your first relation called coincidence 0. Press check to close the dialog and it will be there as a coincident. Now, let's say we don't do that. So let's go ahead and delete again the circle. We go again to circle, and now we come here right at the middle. That yellow thing is popping up again with 3 lines showing a coincident. So we click and drag. Click and drag, and there's your circle. Maybe you don't need to drag it, you can just do a click and then just click again. But you can also click and drag, so it's the same thing. So let me just go ahead and delete the circles. All right, so that's the circle that we care about, the one in the center. It is showing that it's being coincident because you can see that green thing there showing you that it's coincident. And now we're gonna play with the radius. The best way to play with radiuses, dimensions, the easiest way that I do it with is with a tool called Smart Dimension. So right here on the top left, you're gonna see Smart Dimension. Click on it. Your cursor now is gonna change. It looks like some sort of dimension. You have 2 lines and 2 lines in between. So let's click on the circumference. And I have 2 ways of showing this. diameter showing it like this, or diameter being shown like this. Both of them are showing diameters. So I prefer to use diameters for circles like this. So a new window will pop up where it will ask you for your dimensions that you want to give it. For now, I'm just going to select 5, press 5, enter. Boom, done. There's your circle. And another thing you will notice is that I'm still with the smart dimension. So I have to be careful what I do. So I just press escape. I am not anymore in smart dimension. So now we look into our figure and we notice something very peculiar, that it is now all black. Before, our figure was with blue contours, but now it's all black. That means that it's fully defined, which is something you really want to achieve when making figures. You want to make sure that all your figures are fully defined, because that means that you gave it the correct dimensions, and so when you pair with other figures, it won't move, or for some random reason it will glitch, and then you will lose your part that you were working for. You can always use Ctrl Z, but it is very limited, so be very careful with Ctrl Z. Any questions up to now?
Nothing yet.
All right, sweet. So our figure is fully defined, and let's just go quickly and make it a 3D figure. Super easy. We go into features, and now we're gonna go into extruded boss base. What extruded boss base does is that whatever 2D figure that you have will make it into a 3D figure. For example, we have right here now our left panel has changed into a different type, and now it allows you to change the direction in which you are doing your extrusion. So we have, in this case, called the blind direction. We can go up or we can go down. Here we change the amount by which we want it to extrude. In this case, we're gonna select maybe 3 inches. So that's a big extrusion right there. So I can change the direction here with these 2 arrows, reverse direction. And right now we're in blind, but we can also do, if let's say you do have another figure, you can do up to the vertex of the other figure that you may have. You can do up to the surface of another figure that you may have here above. You can do a certain offset from the surface as well, right? So in this case, we will have to select the surface, which in this case, we don't have one. So unfortunately, I can show you that. We also have up to a body. Again, we will need another geometry for that. And then midplane. So midplane just basically tells you that you will be working from the center of the figure that you selected, which if we do again 5 inches, then it will do 5 inches below and 5 inches top. So I usually just use blind for everything, and then midplane. The other ones, it depends what you're doing. It will help you, but just be very careful, because you could get confused a little bit, and then it will just go right through. Like if you have a hole and you do, let's say, up to a surface, and you get to select a surface that is like way far away, and you have a hole in between, your extrusion is going to go through your hole. So you won't have a hole anymore. So just keep that in mind whenever you're using any of the other ones, like up to vertex surface. So anyways, for now, let's just keep it as bind. So we select bind, keep it in 3 inches. Now these other ones, not really had a chance to use them yet, but if you want to explore it, you can always explore more. Selected contours, I do use it. We're probably gonna do another example where we can select contours. So basically, you know how I selected the figure, went to boss base, and I did this extrusion. There's a way in which you can just select the contour. Like I could just probably select the circle here, you see? Select the circle, but it's the same thing because I already selected it. So, and it will do an extrusion based on the contour. It has to be closed though. It cannot be an open contour. So let's just click check for now, okay? And just like that, you have your first 3D object, okay? Any questions as of right now? Is anyone lagging behind? Nope. Okay, perfect. So that is our first object. Now let's make another one. Let's see. So we just viewed the circle tool. Well, we also have a corner rectangle. So for example, let's try and do, I don't know, let's do a center rectangle, okay? As of right now, it's giving me a message. It's saying, select a plane, a planar face, or an edge, which to create a sketch for the entity. That's because we haven't selected. Remember before I said select the surface that you want to work with? Well, in this case I didn't do it. So now I get to hover around and select the one that I want to work with. In this case I'm going to select the top of my cylinder. So I selected the top. I'm going to look now from the top plane. And since I have the center rectangle, I can make a rectangle from the center, expand it, and hopefully touch, yeah, I can touch the contour of my circle. As you can see, as long as it's yellow, it will make the relation, and it will make it so that it is stuck there at that contour. So clicking there, boom, I have now a rectangle in a circle. I'm gonna use a smart dimension just to make sure that my feature now is fully defined. So let's see here. I'm gonna leave it as it is right now. I can always change it, but for now I'm gonna leave it. So again, fully defined. That's what we want to look at the bottom right. You're also gonna see that it says fully defined. And let's go ahead, change now to isometric view so I can see it better. There you go. Now I have a rectangle on top of a circle. So another thing too that you must know is that you must save your file. Unfortunately, I don't know if they have changed it for this edition, but Solidworks doesn't save automatically. So you have to constantly be saving. That Control S will save your life. So as of right now, I'm gonna go here to the top left. I'm gonna click on Save As. And I'm just gonna go here on my desktop and save it as example part. The type of file that you will save it is a SolidWorks part called a .part or a .solid part. Abbreviation PRT or SLD PRT. So I'm just gonna save it for now there. And now it is saved. So just make sure to keep on doing Control Save, Control Save, Control Save to make sure that you're not missing that. Now, okay, so now that we have our rectangle on top of our circle, we can do the same thing again with features. We can do an extruded boss base. So let's do extruded boss base. And then we'll do the extrusion of a rectangle, which again, I'm gonna select 3 inches for now. Press OK. And now we have a block on top of a cylinder. Okay, now let's go back to sketch. We have done the center rectangle. You can always do corner rectangle. You're gonna have a same rectangle. It's just, it depends on what you're trying to make. Sometimes corner rectangle will work depending on what you want to make. 3-point corner rectangle, 3-point center rectangle, parallelogram. Again, depends on what you want to do. We also have lines. So let's see what happens now if we do lines, for example. So let's go ahead and go on top view again. Let's say I make lines now. I'm gonna select the surface here at the top. I'm gonna go from here, draw a horizontal line, a vertical line up to here, and then another horizontal line up to here, vertical line up to here, horizontal up to here, vertical up to here, and you're gonna notice something right here. All right, right there. So if I move around where I'm at right now, you're gonna notice that it's giving you a horizontal yellow mark, right? There's like a yellow square with a horizontal line that is black. That's telling you that right now when you approach the horizontal, it will make your line perfectly horizontal. If you look up, now you have a yellow block with a black line vertical. So now it's just telling you that you have a perfectly vertical line. Right here is telling you that you have an angle. So again, just things to help you out so that you understand what you're doing with your lines. Now, let's say I want to make sure that I perfectly fit here when I'm gonna make my last line. So I can always reach up to my endpoint. You're gonna see now that it changes to a yellow square with circles in it. You come down, try not to move too much, and now it changes to a horizontal coincidental. So that means that you're gonna be touching this line. Click there, and then click on your final point. And just like that, you finish your figure. So all you did by following those rules is making sure that you close the figure. It's very important that you close the figure, because if you don't close it, you cannot do extrusions and you cannot do cutting either. So very, very important. So as of right now, our object is under defined, so we need to define it. We go here to smart dimension. Right here we have it at 1.13 point blah blah blah. Let's just make it 1.15. Enter. We define now the length here on the horizontal. Let's define our vertical here. Let's make it 2 inches. Press 2. Enter. Let's define this one right here as 1.70. Enter. This one too. 0.55. Enter. This one, let's define it as 1 inch. Enter. This one as 1 inch. Enter. And then this one as 0.45. Oh, it's giving us an error. What's happening here? Well, we have, or we are about to over define it, meaning that we're giving it too many dimensions to it, and it might collide with some dimensions that we have. So in that case, we may just, as of right now, not continue with that one. Let's think about what's happening right now. If we give a dimension to this last line, it's telling us that we're gonna over define our figure, in that case, which means that we're gonna have to drop another dimension and use another dimension instead for whatever we want to do. So if that's the case, well, we have to think about this now and realize, okay, I have this line that is blue right here. This one's blue, but I gave it a dimension. So why is it blue? Maybe I'm not giving it a good sense of where it needs to be. Maybe I didn't specify how far away it has to be from a center or from a plane, because as of right now, I just drew on it. But if you think about it, this figure is just floating. Yeah, I gave it dimensions as to know its height and length, but I don't know where in the world this figure's at. So that's where you have to think about, depending on from what frame of reference you want to have this figure on. So what we will do in this case is we're going to go ahead and select the center. That's the reason why I like the center. Click here on this line and just tell it that this figure is about 0.65, whoops, my bad, okay, 0.65 away from the center at that line. And that's all we needed. Now it is fully defined. You might be thinking, but okay, so you gave it a dimension on the vertical, but you didn't give it a dimension on the horizontal. Well, that's the reason why our lines here that were coincidental with our vertical come to work. Because we're basically set in our logic here when we made this figure is that this object is coincidental to this vertical line. So whatever I'm building on top of that, it's fine. The only problem that we had was how far away vertically is away from our center, in that case I needed to go ahead and verify it. So if you do end up yourself having issues with over dimension, just make sure that you check your dimensions, check your logic. You're probably gonna be following someone else's plan at the beginning anyways, but just check your logic and see how to make it so that you don't have that over defined problem. So let's say that now we want to make, instead of an extrusion, a hole. Let's say I want to make this, I don't know, it looks like an L. I think I made an L or a C. So let's say we want to engrave this, right? This is a part that is finished and I want to engrave it and I want to have this dent feature on it. So we go here to features, we go now to where it says extruded cut. So we go to extruded cut. And now you will see that you can make a cut. So let's do, instead of 3 inches, 0.5 inches. Okay, it's the same thing as the extrusion. You have the blind, but now you have more options with regards to through all. What through all does is that it will cut through every single material that it sees that it could go through. So it'll go through all the material that is in front of the object. So be very careful with through all. I mean, you may use it depending on the type of part that you want to make. Through all both, meaning that it will go also through the upper side too. If there was to be another figure, it will also go through it as well. Up to the next figure, up to the next face, depending which one you want to choose. Up to vertex, up to surface, offset from the surface, mid plane. We already discussed all of those. Is the same thing as extrusion. So in this case, I'm just gonna go ahead and select bind for now. Leave it at 0.50. Okay. I've used these other ones as well, but I don't think we will need them for the robot, so I'm not gonna cover them. But just basically, you can make something called a shell, meaning that you can cut and leave the outside part of your square open. So depending what you want to do, right? Kind of like a shell, like a turtle, right? The inside of the turtle is open, whereas the shell is like this thick. It has like this thick armor. So that's what a shell basically would do. So yeah, let's just click on it. Click OK. And just like that, now we've made some sort of stamp on it. So now we have a stamp on it. Pretty easy. Okay. So let's go back now to sketch and let's cover other ones. So we've covered what line can do. Center line, midpoint line are just basically other ways to form lines. We also have straight slots. So a slot is basically, I'm just gonna show you super quick because again, I don't think we will have to use this for the robot. But if I just draw a center line right here, that's a slot, right? Super easy to make with the slot feature. You don't have to be, because otherwise you will have to make circles and then connect them and then delete lines, and then that will be just too tricky. So okay, let's go ahead and get rid of the slot here. Escape, click on the slot, delete, and it's deleted. We also have a polygon. I never really used the polygon, but you can always make one. Okay. Let's press escape. We're not really gonna talk about polygons because again, I don't think it's needed. Fillets. Okay. Fillets is very important. Why? Because let's say you're machining this object, right? You see how this contours right here, this edges, they are very sharp. If you were to machine this, right, you got a piece of metal and you're machining it, these edges are very sharp. So if you're making it for, I don't know, consumer products, or maybe you want to make a robot that doesn't cut you, then you want to do something called fillets. Now we can do that in Sketch, meaning we could have done that before we made our extrusion. So for example, let's go back here to the left side on the panel. You're gonna see here the feature boss extrude. Let's go to the sketch right here. So you're gonna click on that little arrow, expand it, go to sketch number 2, click on it once, and it should allow you to show it. So right there, you're seeing it. You're seeing the sketch. And so let me see if I can, unless they changed it now. Huh. It looks like they have changed it. in this version, but we used to be able to edit it. But now it's not letting me edit it. Let me see. Okay, well, for some reason it's not letting me edit it. Before we could actually edit it, so it might be that they have changed something here with the configuration. But let me just go ahead and make this hide. So one more thing that you can do is you can hide your sketches or show them. So right there I have it shown, so you see that gray lines here. We can actually see it, so we can always click on it and hide it. So now I don't see it. That's another thing you can do. So in this case, what we will do instead is just use a feature. So I was trying to show you how to do fillets on sketches. We'll cover it, but as of right now, let's do it with features. So in this case, let me go ahead. Okay, one more thing. If I go on features right now and I want to do the fillet, you see how all my buttons are grayed out? That's because it's telling me that I'm still in Sketch. So if I want to do something here for this feature, I cannot do it because I'm still in Sketch, and it will tell you right here. On the left panel, it says there's a traffic light with a red and green that's telling you that you're still in there. So if I go here on my tab to Sketch, I have to exit the Sketch. So exit Sketch. I wasn't really doing anything anyways, so that's why it just disappeared. There's no history for me of a sketch being done because I didn't get to finish it. So now I can go in features, and now they will be all here for me to use. So let's go ahead and say that I want to make a fillet here. I'm gonna click on that edge, and then I'm gonna go here to fillet. Click on fillet, and it tells me items to fillet. Okay, let's say I want to make all the corners of my cube soft so that nobody gets cut. I'm gonna select every single one of these, every single edge. Okay, I selected all the edges, so now what I will do is tell it, okay, by how much do I want to do a fillet? Okay, let's do 0.20, maybe 0.20 is good enough. Okay, 0.20, great. So I don't see it though. I want to make sure that I'm actually making a fillet. You can always go into partial preview, or you can go into full preview. Full preview will show you that you are in effect doing a fillet for all of the sides of your cube. So just like that, okay, it looks perfectly fine. I made a fillet of 0.20, perfect. Okay, there's other things here that you can use as well. I haven't really touched them, so unfortunately I wouldn't be able to help it with that. That will be something more advanced. But as of right now, for our purpose, fillet just works completely perfectly fine. So let's just click OK. And just like that, now our cube has a fillet. On all of those parts that we thought it was horrible, that we shouldn't have a sharp edge. So, okay, we touch fillet. Let's say we want to do now a chamfer. So chamfer, it's like us just cutting on the edge. Now, I don't know if it will do it on a circle, but let's just YOLO and try. So I selected the contour of that circle. Let me go ahead and, oh, one more thing. How you can clear selection is you right click here on this blue thing and then clear selections. Just like that, my selection is clear. So let's select again here this edge. Okay, let's select this one too. We gotta be careful because we already placed the geometry on top of the circle, so now it's kind of splitting the edges. So make sure that they are all blue, right? You see how this edge is orange? It should be blue because we're trying to select it. So I selected now the entire contour of the circle on the top. Let's select the one on the bottom. It should be just one stroke. Boom. I selected the entire bottom because it wasn't being how do you say this? There wasn't like some sort of I don't know, crash. There wasn't a coincidence with another object, so that's the reason why the one at the bottom I could actually select the entire circle, whereas the top one I had to select every single piece because it looks like it was put into pieces because of the square that I drew above on it. So anyways, now I have a chamfer. I can select the parameters of the chamfer. In this case, I'm gonna select it for it to be as big as 0.4. And my degree, I'm just gonna leave it at 45 degrees. So basically, if you were to do this chamfer, it's gonna do it at 45 degrees. Let's check how it looks like now. And that's a chamfer right there. You see? Looks very pretty, huh? That's a 45-degree chamfer. So you got two things that you can do on your corners, depending on what you want to do. You can do fillets or you can do chamfers. The one at the top, the one at the bottom is also chamfer. So yeah, and it will actually keep the geometry of the thing that you have on the top. So in this case, we have a cube. As you can see, it actually allowed it for it to stay there. So perfect. All right, so that was fillets, that was chamfers. Okay, let's see what else we can do. Okay, so let's try and do those same things, but now let's do them on a sketch. So for that, I'm gonna make a new file here. I'm not gonna delete this file, I'm gonna keep it open, but I'm gonna make a new one. So go here, click on, make sure you're on part, not assembly, click OK. And okay, again, I have to click on the eyeball, make sure I put all my planes open, view origins. All right, I'm good to go. Let's see. Okay, so let's try and do that same thing that we did, but now on a sketch. So we go here on sketch. We're gonna go here for center rectangle. Go right at the center. Oh, I cannot draw. Why? Because I need to select the plane. I forgot about that. Click on top plane. Now I can select the center, expand it, make smart dimension. Let's make sure that we're fully defined, 5 inches by, let's say, 4 inches. Okay, we now have a fully defined figure. So let's say we want to make a fillet. So if we want to make a fillet, in that case, you have to click on the edges that will intersect at a point. So I had to select the edge on the right and the edge on the top, so that it will know that I want to make a fillet here in this corner. Okay, I can select this one too. Right, you see, another fillet, another fillet, another fillet. Now I have 4 fillets. I'm gonna change it to 0.5. Whoops. Perfect. Click on OK. And as you can see now, as I rotate, my fillets are there. So just like as I want to do a fillet, I can also do a chamfer here as well. It will be the same thing, right? You will click on chamfer, and it's gonna ask you where the corners you want to do it at. Do the distance. If you want to do angle distance, you can click on it and also check your distance. By default, it should be like 45 degrees on your angle. So just like that, now I have a nice fillet figure. So let's go ahead and now do an extruded boss base. So let me do something different now. If you have noticed thus far, we've been doing sketches and directly going to features and do an extruded boss or whatever we want to do. But what happens if for some reason you are out of the sketch? I mean, the sketch is there, right? Because you did it, but you don't have it selected, and you want to do an extruded boss base. So I click on extruded boss base, and it's gonna tell me, hey man, you need to select what you want to extrude. Oh snap, okay. Well, I could either just click on the sketch, okay, or I could first click on the sketch here on my history of things that I do, and then click on extruded boss base. the program will know that that's the one that I actually want to do an extrusion on. So let's change it now to 2 inches. Let's actually do now mid plane. Voila. Now we have a nice cube with the edges that we selected with fillets. So again, if I want to do, let's say, chamfers, just to practice chamfers, we select again the edges. Let me do it for now, the top and bottom. And then press OK for now. And now we have chamfers. Looks like a little box. Let's change orientation, isometric. Perfect. We have a nice box. So that's some things that we can do. Yes. So any questions as of right now? I hope that you guys are following, because I know I'm going a little bit fast, but I hope I'm not going that fast. Again, these are just basic tools that we're using, so it will help you to make parts for the robot that you want to do, which is gonna be a lot of fun. I don't expect you to do something super intense because of the amount of time that we have to do these pieces, but if you can make blocks and group them together, that's perfectly fine. You know, just as we show something for NASA, so that, you know, maybe, I'm pretty sure they don't expect us either to be like full blown, because this will be the first time we participate as well. But if we can make just some, you know, nice blocks and show more or less what our sketches are, that's perfectly fine. Let's say, for example, we want to make sketches on a paper, that's perfectly fine as well. But we do need to have some sort of level of detail on it, right? For at least for paper sketches, because it's a little bit harder to see. But anyway, so let's try and see now if we can do an example. Let's see if you guys have learned enough. I think I've taught you a lot of stuff. Let's see if you can make a piece. So before I continue with the piece, does anybody have any questions at all? Nope. It's now or never before we continue to do exercises now.
You're good.
Okay, sweet. So in that case, let's go ahead and do this part right here. Okay, we'll do this one together. I hope you can see it, because I don't know if you can actually see what I'm seeing. You see there's like a PDF file in front of me, right?
Yep.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So this is the part that we're gonna do. We're gonna consider that everything is in inches, just because right now we're gonna assume that everything is in inches. So now this is what you will find whenever you want to make a part. You're gonna see that somebody's gonna give you some sort of sketches so that you can make it into a 3D part. So let's try and tackle this guy. Okay, so I see this, and this is my overall isometric view. This right here is my top view. This right here is my right view, and this is my front view. Okay, usually they will have it in that form. Depends who the engineer is, or whoever wants to make this type of sketches. It does depend on how they want to do it, but usually it's like that. You're gonna see isometric at the top left, then you're gonna see the top view on the left side, and the bottom left will be your right view, and then the bottom right will be your front view. So with that said, let's go ahead and try to do this part together. So let me see if there's a way that I can make this smaller here. Maybe if I can make it a little bit smaller here so that everybody sees it. So let me see. Let me copy this one here quickly. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna make it super small. Okay. That's the part that we're trying to do. Okay. So I know it's gonna disappear when I click up here, but we'll come back and check it. So okay, let's see if we can do that part. So let's go on File, New, Part. Okay. So again, eyeball, planes, center. And how are we gonna tackle this now? Here's where we have to think about this, okay? When I see this part, I see that I want to make it the easiest way possible because I'm a lazy person and I don't want to waste time doing something that could be done super easily. So the first thing I'll probably do is the bottom part of the figure because it's a big piece. I see it as a big piece at the bottom and then pieces at the top, right? So I will do probably the bottom piece first, then the top part. So let me actually bring this back here. So the top part, I can think of it as being made of two pieces, right? So here you have an L that we're gonna have to make. And then once I make that L on top of this part at the bottom, then I can make this triangle, right? That's gonna be a little bit of a challenge to do this triangle. Because I think there's one thing that I need to show you that I haven't shown you. I'm thinking if there's another way to do it, but I think I'm gonna have to do it a certain way. Okay, so yeah, anyways, so let's try and do this part. Let's see. So the first thing is I'm gonna do the bottom part. So I'm gonna go on top plane. I'm gonna sketch it. And according to our handy dandy dimensions here that they give us, if you see the bottom left view tells you that the long or the length of this thing is 70 inches. So I'm gonna go ahead and sketch. Gonna go ahead and do a rectangle for now. And I'm gonna use the corner rectangle now. I'm gonna select my corner here as my origin, just for simplicity. And again, don't forget to select the plane that you want to work with. So I'm gonna select that one. I'm gonna make it super big because I want to make sure that I'm making it correctly. So my length, I'm gonna go ahead and click here on this line right here, smart dimension, change it to 70. Now, this thing is gonna expand like so big, you have no idea. So enter, there you go, boom, expanded. Now, okay, so that's 70 inches, which is quite a lot. This is probably in millimeters if I think about it, but whatever, we're gonna do it in inches. So the 70 inches, and then let's see. Okay, I look at that figure and the top left view tells me that it's a width of 40. Click here on this side right here. Let's make it 40. Boom. Fully defined. I define my bottom piece. Perfect. Now let's see. It's telling us that you have a fillet of 10, which in this case I'm gonna consider as a fillet of 10 inches, even though that's probably also again in millimeters. So we are not going to make our 3D piece yet. We're gonna do it here while we're on sketch. We're gonna go ahead and select this. You can also select the corner, by the way. So you can either select the edge at the top or this edge at the right, but you can also select here. You see when you hover over this point, it becomes orangey. So select it and do 10. Boom, we have a 10. Let's select also this point here. Boom, 10. Done. Click on OK. That's our two fillets. Okay, awesome. We've done the fillets. Now, we also need to know where our center circle's at, because we do have a circle and we're going to assume the circle is perfectly centered. Okay, so we know our length of where the circle will be, but we do not know how far away is from the top. That's when we are going to use our logic, because whoever made this drawing was expecting us to understand that it was going to be symmetrical. So we're going to go ahead and sketch. We're going to do now a circle. Okay, and we're just going to make it anywhere at this point. I'm just going to make it there randomly. I don't care. Smart dimension. Click on the center of the circle. Click on this left side of your object. Now you have the length of the circle from the left side. We're gonna do 50 inches. Perfect. Now we also need to do the diameter. So click on the circumference of the circle. We're gonna do 20 inches diameter. Boom. Perfect. All right. Are we missing something? It looks like it's blue, right? It's not fully defined. So what are we missing? We're missing how far away we are from the top and how far away we are from the bottom. So the best way to really do this, okay, when you're having this issue that you just don't really know, there's many ways to solve this. My way of solving it will be to know that this thing is 40 inches in width, which means that if I want to have this perfectly centered, it's just going to be 40 divided by 2. So that's what I'm going to do. Smart Dimension, select the center of the circle, select the top side of the circle, and I'm going to do 20 inches. Oh, look at that. Now our figure is fully defined, which is perfect, right? That's what we want. We always want for our objects to be fully defined. So another thing now in engineering, usually you want to keep your dimensions properly arranged. So usually the biggest dimension goes all the way out, and as you keep on getting closer, you arrange them like this, right? That's just so that when you make what do you call this, a graph, a sheet, then it will be properly arranged. So anyway, so that's our circle and that's our object that we made. So now we need to give it depth. Let's go on isometric. It's looking flat right now. Let's go on features. We're gonna go now on extruded boss base. All right, well, here's the thing. Solidworks understands that we have right now an enclosed surface here of a circle and another surface here, which is the big thing. So how do we select the one that we actually want to extrude? Because that circle is a hole. So we click here on this blue thing right here on the left side panel, and we're gonna select what we actually want to use, which in this case is gonna be, let me just clear selections just to make sure. It's gonna be the center. So right there. I don't know if I selected it. So actually, let me cancel this. Let me make sure that I'm outside of the sketch actually, because I want to make sure that I'm selecting the right thing. Okay, I'm gonna select here this thing, sketch, extrude the boss base. Okay, there we go. Okay, it's selecting only the outside. Now let me try and see if I can do this within the sketch. So if we want to edit the sketch, we're gonna click here on sketch, only one click, and then select edit sketch. So we're again, as if we were just made it, we're gonna do the extruded boss base and we just want to select that outside feature. Let's go to extruded boss base. And it doesn't seem like it selected a circle. So let's go ahead and do it. We're gonna extrude it by 20 inches because that's what it wants. And now here's another logic that comes into play. I could either extrude it 20 inches up from my surface, so my top plane, but I wouldn't want to do that because I could build on top of this figure, but usually I'd like to build on top of my reference plane. So in that case, I'm gonna change the direction of the extrusion for it to be down so that I can use my plane for some other stuff. So that's what I'm gonna do. Extrude it downwards by 20 inches. Now we have a nice first block. So now let's see what else we can do. Again, if I were to do this piece by piece, well, we did the bottom part. I think the L is easy to make. So let's make that L first. So for the L now, it's telling us that, again, our width of the L is 40. Then, here's the thing. It's telling us on the bottom left that we have a length of 30. So let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna do it as 30. So let's see here. We're gonna make another sketch. We're gonna select the top plane. And now we're gonna make our L. Let me make sure that I'm looking at it from the top. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and draw it. So I think that it will be best if I draw from here. So I'm just gonna make random lines. I'm just gonna make sure that they're horizontal and vertical. Make sure that they are coincidental with the lines of my previous figure. Just like that, boom, done. So it appears that we are good to go. Now we have to do smart dimension. We have to make sure that everything's correct. Let me check this one. This one should be 30 inches. So 30 inches. This one should be what? Again, let me drink a little bit of water. Okay. So now for this part, here's where we come into a dilemma. Whoever made the drawing didn't tell us how thick our L is. So we have to make another nice assumption, but it's kind of understood from the drawing, because if you look at the bottom right, you're gonna see that there's a center line of your circle. Whenever you see a line, dash, line, dash, line, that's telling you that there's a center of a circle there. So it's telling us the center of a circle is 20 inches in diameter, and the sides of that, or the circumference of that circle is also touching the sides of the L and the sides of the triangle. So if I take that into consideration, it means that if my circle is 20 in diameter, all I have to do is say the width, which is 40, minus 20 will leave me with 20 in length that I can use. So if I divide that by 2, then the right side, so where my L is, should be 10 in length. If I look at the left side, it should be also 10 in length. But in this case, we're not doing the left side because we haven't drawn the triangle yet. So this side is gonna be 10. Let's check and see. Yeah, basically right there at that edge, right? Which is what whoever made the drawing was expecting us to understand, is that they don't need to give us a diameter for this one because we're supposed to understand that it's touching it right here. So perfect. We have that width. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so another dimension here that is not explicitly told to us is this one right here, down here, right? But if we look at the figure correctly, we can see that this one should be 10 inches. Why? Because your triangle is 20 in length, and then it touches your L. So that means that this part right here should also be 10 inches. Boom, done. All right, let's just make sure now that our length is correct here. Should be 40. Oh, we're doing over define. No need to do it. Cancel. Okay, again, fully defined. That's all we're looking for. So as of right now, our image is perfect. Our drawing is perfect. So let's go ahead and do an extrusion. Features, extruded boss base. We're going to go up now by, let's see here. If we made this 20 inches in height and your overall height is 40, then that means that this extrusion should also be 20 inches in height. I'm gonna press OK. Done. We have a nice L in there. Sweet. So here is why I decided to start at this corner right here. The reason why I decided to start at this corner is because I realized that I needed to make a triangle at one point. There's two ways that I could have made my triangle. Either way, I could just go ahead and view it now from the front plane. And I could easily go ahead and look at this intersection right here, make a line from there up to this intersection right here. And it will be drawn on my front plane. Right here. It wouldn't be drawn here on this figure. It will be drawn here on this front plane. And then I could easily extrude it. The other way I could have done this is by making a reference geometry, which I didn't show you. But you can make a reference geometry. You can say maybe from here to, I don't know, here. And then you have to specify it. And it's a mess. But by doing a little bit of logic, we can realize that we could just, if we placed everything correctly, that triangle should be easily done on a front plane. So let's go ahead and do it here on the front plane. Let's see if it catches us, because sometimes it doesn't feel like catching it. So we're gonna do a line. We're gonna select front plane. We're gonna start right here, dot, boom. Selected the coincident dot, making sure that it's right here, also coincidental, boom. Continue here, continue up here, done. We just made our triangle. Easy. Easy compared to what we had to do if we had not thought about that, right? So very important where you're gonna start your figure, because it will make your life easier if you started at the correct position. Otherwise, you have to make reference geometries, or you have to figure another way to make your geometry. And if you messed up for some random reason, then you have to go back and redo your object. So it's very important to understand where things are placed in space and in relation to what as well. So we have our nice triangle, handy dandy triangle, but it's underdefined. So why? Why is it underdefined? That's a good question. One way that I check as to the reason why it could be underdefined is by trying to move it. Maybe it didn't actually become coincidental, as you can see right there. It is coincident on the figure right here, right? But it looks like they didn't quite catch this edge right here. So here is why we have that nice dimension that will save us. We have a 20 in length dimension here for this triangle. Just mark dimension it, 20, boom. Now it's fully defined. We don't have a floating triangle anymore. So now we go on features, extruded boss base. And again, this should be 10 inches, just because we already know that it will be by 10 inches. So 10 inches in depth. Make sure that we're going the right way. Oh, we're not going the right way. Reverse direction. Click OK. And just like that, we have our first figure. So yeah, that's our first figure that we have. Any questions for the first figure that we've done?
No, but I think I'll have to go here, Jorge.
Okay, no worries, no worries. At least you got to see the figure. Thank you for attending, Cameron. I wish you luck. I know you have work to do.
Hey, thank you for taking the time to
Yeah.
show us the works.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. The only thing that I was just missing is just assemblies, which I'm just gonna cover over quickly, and then you will see it on the YouTube video, so you'll be fine.
Fantastic. All right.
I have no problem. Take care, Cameron.
See you around.
See ya.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Grant, how we doing?
I was a little bit behind, but it all makes pretty good sense. I don't have a mouse yet.
Oh no, you don't have a mouse? Okay, I get you.
Yeah, it makes it a little tougher.
Gotcha. But were you able to catch up to here? Kind of okay?
I don't have all of it yet, but I'm pretty close.
Okay, you're pretty close. Okay, okay. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, I will just cover just something super basic for now. I mean, the good thing is that the YouTube video will be saved, so you will get to watch
Yeah.
it, you know, for those parts that you missed. So I'm just gonna show you quickly the assembly, and then I will just let you go so you can also do your things, because I'm pretty sure everybody's busy because tomorrow's Monday too. So
Yeah.
okay, for assemblies, it's super quick. All right, we're just gonna go here on File, New, okay, and then we're gonna go here on Assembly. Now the reason why I'm showing you assembly is because assembly is very important, because that's where you're actually gonna be assembling the entire robot. So
Okay.
we go on Assembly. Right off the bat, SolidWorks sometimes will pick it, sometimes won't pick it up. So in this case, it did pick it up. It did pick up our example part, the first one that we did. If we
Mm-hmm.
save it, it will pick it up. If we don't save it, it won't pick it up. So just super quick. So you will bring this one here. Let's make just, let's say 3 of these, just so that you see more or less how assembly works.
Okay.
So how did I bring 3 is I clicked on this little thingy here.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what you call this. I think it's an attachment or something. So, and I brought 3. Okay. Then
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna press OK. And sweet, I got 3 of them. So how do we make them so that they are mated together? That's usually the main thing that you want to do in assembly. Is you want to pair everything together so everyone's happy and they're glued together to each other. So
Mm-hmm.
the best way to do this is we go to assembly, and for now I'm just gonna show mate. So we're gonna go here where it says mate, and we're gonna try and mate these. So now SolidWorks is gonna try and do its best approximation as to what we want to do, but sometimes we gotta help SolidWorks a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
the main thing I'm gonna do is right click on my part. I'm gonna make sure that it's floating, so float. Okay, usually the first one is the only one that is fixed. The rest are all floating. So
Mm-hmm.
they should all be floating right now. Yeah, they're all floating. If it says fix, it means that you want to fix it, not that it's actually fixed. So I'm gonna say, and I just want this part to mate with this one on this side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move it with triad. I'm gonna rotate it by about 180 degrees. Right there, boom. Okay, sweet. I'm gonna drag it up so that SolidWorks understands that it's there, and when I do my
Mm-hmm.
mates, it won't do anything crazy. So click on mate, click on this surface here, click on this surface here, and it knows that I want to make them coincident. Let's go back a little bit though, because I didn't like the fact that it kind of munched each other out. So
Mm-hmm.
instead, we're gonna do this mate first, and now they're coincident on that plane. Awesome. Press check. Let's make another mate now. Usually you want to do 3 mates because that will define your 3D object. So we got one for, I guess, the bottom part. Let's make a mate now between the left sides. Done. And one from the front sides as well. Done. So now it should be fully mated.
Mm-hmm.
So just like that, that thing now it's its own thing. Like it will move together. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now let's say we want to make this one here. Same thing. We have to let SolidWorks understand a little bit what we want to do. So let me just quickly exit out of mate. So move with triad. Rotate it a little bit here. There we go. And bring it probably more or less over there. And we're just gonna go ahead and do the mates now. So let me go ahead and make sure that I'm using the right face. So this one and this one. Made it. And made it. And now here is the weird part, because
Mm-hmm.
we want to make sure that this is mated to this right here, probably at the center, but I don't think I can zoom enough too much. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this object here the top height. So right click on it hide,
Hmm.
and now we see the top side. And now we just made it like that. Press OK, and now we have all the mates. So right here on the left side of your panel is showing you a part that is kind of like blank. So let's go ahead and show it again. That's how you made these three. Okay.
Cool.
So we'll just leave it there for today. For now, I think that's sufficient. I put 3 hours because I was like, let's see how much we can push.
Hmm.
But I think that will be good up for today. Now, for SolidWorks, I do recommend that you get a mouse because it's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how were you guys, by the way, with the design? Were you able to do anything yet or not yet?
Yeah, I got a good amount done.
All right.
Um,
Okay. Sweet. Okay. By the way, if SolidWorks
just
doesn't work too much, you can always do it by hand. Hand works.
mhm.
Hand still
Yeah,
works. Yeah. Were you
it
gonna say
just took me
something?
a little bit longer.
Oh, okay. Were you gonna say something? Because I think I interrupted you.
Oh no, no, I was just gonna say, it just took me like I was just taking me a little bit longer without a
Okay.
mouse.
Is Cameron also? So the two Camerons are with you, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Okay. Let me just quickly stop here the stream. So.